there's so many reasons to put weight on, so many ways to put weight on, so many excuses to keep weight on. And so the biggest question is, and I often see, and people ask me, why am I not losing weight? There's 600, maybe 6,000 reasons, but I have 6 reasons that you are not losing weight. Welcome back to another episode of the Brave Today podcast. This show is going to encourage, challenge, and quite possibly provoke you to step outside of your comfort zone, take more action to better improve yourself and your overall health. I'm your host, Mark Avens, and in this crazy, whacked out world that seems to keep pushing a narrative for people to become softer, weaker, sicker, and unhealthier, and even more dependent than ever before, the goal and intent of the show is to help you navigate through this so that you can become braver today than you were yesterday. And just a few details about the types of shows that I'll be offering. We'll have brave guest interviews where basically it'll be a friend or somebody that's had an influence in my life, essentially brave people that I look up to and admire, who are not only brave today, but are also helping many, many people become braver today than they were yesterday. We'll also have what's called a Brave Q&A, and that's where I'll be answering your questions. So if you have any questions that you want answered regarding health, fitness, weight loss, essentially anything you want to ask, it's really open. And if you ask that question, it can be done through YouTube or through the podcast, or if you happen to find me on another social media area, be it Facebook, Instagram, etc., just drop a question and you may actually find it featured on one of our next Q&As. Next, we have what's called the Flavor of the Week, and I'll be discussing the latest news on health and fitness, essentially picking apart diet trends, workouts, fads, pills, potions. There's never an endless amount of those, and I will break them down and give you my honest opinion, and I'll also do some legit research on those so you can have a good overview of what they entail. And lastly, we'll be doing breakthrough episodes where I'll take a deep dive into a specific area: physical, mental, emotional, potentially even spiritual, basically any area that could be holding you back, and to also help you with some guidance so that you can have a breakthrough in your personal health and fitness journey. Today is actually one of those breakthrough episodes, and I'm excited to share with you what really has been a huge part of my life. And not just on a personal journey, but for whatever reason, way back in 1995, when I started personal training, literally 1995, and started working with people who wanted to lose weight, get in shape, get stronger, healthier, more fit. And it's interesting now that as I'm at 51, I think back when I was in my mid-20s doing this almost 30 years ago, and I'm actually now that client that I was helping to try and lose weight. But the big thing over the last really almost 3 decades now, I found there's so many reasons to put weight on, so many ways to put weight on, so many excuses to keep weight on. And so the biggest question is, and I often see, and people ask me, why am I not losing weight? So I actually have 6 reasons. Now there's 600, maybe 6,000 reasons, but I have 6 reasons that you are not losing weight. And I wanted to share those with you so that potentially one of these may resonate with you and you have a solution moving forward so that you can actually get weight off. Bottom line is, this world doesn't want us to be healthy or fit. They want us to overweight. They want us relying on medications and the sick and weak. I mean, when all those things kind of become part of you, then again, you're easy to control. So I want to just help you today by sharing with you 6 reasons that you are not losing weight. Number 1, let's jump right in. You're getting older and you're losing more muscle. And I want to keep those together because it's truth. As we get older and you're at a certain age and you have up to the age of 30, where you start to decrease your muscle mass by 3.5 to 4% every decade. From there, if you don't use it, you lose it. It's essentially, the old phrase, you don't use it, you lose it. And that's the truth. And of course, we're all going to get older. We're all going to have a time in our lives where we lose our independence and our muscle gets weaker and so forth, so on. But the good news is, as we're getting older, you can do something about it. Now, a lot of times what happens is when people are losing weight, they struggle for a while. Maybe they don't struggle as much in their 20s or 30s, but then they're getting into their 30s and 40s. They're kind of like in the next season. They realize it's a lot harder, right? You look at a slice of pizza and you put on 3 pounds versus you could eat a whole pizza and maybe put on 3 pounds like you did in your 20s. And that will change. And the problem is, a lot of things. You're probably a lot slowed down from when you were in your 20s and 30s. You probably are eating about the same amount, if not even more. And your body's also losing muscle. So one of the reasons why, and this is a very important reason to understand, is as you're getting older, you're losing more muscle. So the solution to that is to do whatever you can to keep the muscle on your body as long as you can. And honestly, strength training is one of the single most valuable things you can do to preserve muscle on your body, right? If you use it, if you use your muscles get worked. And of course, you have to have proper nutrition, but let's just talk about the workout part. As you're building muscle, even when you get older, and even me at 50, I found this that I can still build muscle. So the good news is you're not too old. It's not too late for you to build muscle. But it will be harder for you to lose weight if you don't have muscle. So that's number one. Number two, portion sizes. You're way, way, way underestimating your portion sizes. And I think it's been something that if you think back to, the easiest examples, you look back to what a cheeseburger looked like in the 70s and then what burgers look like today, decades later, and they're a lot bigger. Supersize this, supersize that, the big giant drinks that you can buy at a gas station and so forth, so on. So it's easy to, as those get bigger and bigger, to think that your normal size is actually small. So it's all relative. And unfortunately, with portion sizes, and you go out to a restaurant and, you're going to pay more money, but you see the size of like the cake that comes out for dessert that can feed like, a family of 5. One of the things that does is it conditions you to believe that even maybe a half a piece of cake is okay when it's really like 3 slices, right? All in one. So really like the second reason you're not losing weight is that you're not doing a really good job of understanding your portion size. And really like the other hard thing is packaging. A lot of stuff in packages. You go to the grocery store and you're buying food and snacks and chips and things, and you're just eating out of the package, and they're making them bigger and bigger, and they say family size, right? And you're eating the family size chips. The best way to eliminate that, to like be able to get a handle, better grasp on your portion sizes, is to actually do some math on the front end, plan a little bit ahead, kind of eliminate the guesswork from the front. And that's one of the things we do. And one of the things that I've learned that's really helped a number of women and men that I've worked with in the past is just to actually acknowledge, to take a look at what you're currently eating. And honestly, the best and simplest way to do it, and you can start today, is to simply have a food journal. I know it sounds so like, man, that's like so old school. Yes, old school works, just like a push-up will work to build your muscles. Push-ups aren't going anywhere because they are really effective. So is a food diary, food journal. I would actually say that as technology got more advanced, it became easier to overlook something as simple as a food diary. And what that does is, while you're eating, and you can write down what you're eating, and at the end of the day, just take a look at it. It can help you understand how much you're consuming throughout the day. And if you're sitting all day and you're not exercising and you're eating just like you did in your 20s when you were active, maybe more up and about and moving around and athletic, if you will, you'll realize that your body is going to have an effect on that. It's going to make it hard for you to lose weight. So that was number 2, you're underestimating your portion size. Let's go to number 3. Eat mindlessly or when distracted. You're going to eat more when you're distracted. When you have this in your hand and you're eating while you're looking at something or watching TV or even like a movie, and you think about those things, when you're focused on something other than the food that's in front of you, it's going to be very easy to overeat and also to probably just eat really fast, which is not great for digestion either. It makes it hard to break down in your body. It does make it harder. In your body, actually, there's a internal mechanism that actually registers when you're full, but if you're distracted, it's not thinking about you being full, so you can just continue to eat. And the easiest test you can do yourself is, next time you go to a movie, you look at the size of the popcorn. Maybe you can find out how much popcorn you're eating while you're watching the movie. I dare you to try that at home in front of the table with no distractions, no phone, no TV, no people around, and see if you can eat that entire bag of popcorn. I guarantee you'll probably get sick before you're even halfway through it. So you want to be very, very careful. It's kind of like that repetitive hand to mouth snacking that typically is the mindless eating, right? If you're watching TV and you're sitting down and you're like, oh, I kind of have a snack. And then there's a habit built on that you're distracted and eating. So you get into this really terrible habit that not only makes it harder for you to lose weight, it's going to really cause you probably to gain weight. And especially as we get older. So that's number 3. You want to do yourself the best favor to have a disconnect from distractions so you can focus on the food that you're eating. And even whether you're eating packaged, eating out, prepackaged food, processed food, eating out, organic, whatever it is, if you actually can take the time, you're like, well, Mark, I just don't have the time, right? Well, you think if that can actually be the game changer for you to lose weight, do you think it's going to be valuable to maybe make the time? I guess if your weight matters to you in a sense that you want to get the weight that you've been struggling with for the last maybe 2 or 3 decades, or for some I've even worked with more since they've been, a teenager, they've been overweight and they're still struggling. Like if that could be the one thing that you can run out of this show with and to say, wow, you know what, maybe that's the one thing that I'm really missing. That would be a great thing. And I'd love for you to share with me. Let me know. Send me a private message how it went by eating. Try one day undistracted eating and watch what happens. If you could do that one day, you can stack that win and do it another day and then try for a week and then try for a month, right? It'll be hard, but I can assure you it'll be worth it. Let's go to number 4. And I got 3 more. And this one, is hard to listen to, especially if you're the type of person that struggles to lose weight. And it's genetics. Genetics does play a factor. I mean, sometimes genetics are not going to be in your favor. So if you have genes of, unathletic, maybe overweight, and you have family and family history, and just maybe you say you're big boned or you're just like chunkier, or like my family members are just bigger, right? Sometimes that's going to be hard and it's going to make it harder for you to lose weight. So unfortunately, you can't change the way God made you or what family you were born into. But again, you do need to realize that that's a factor. Genetics does play a lot. So I won't, but you can't use the genetics as an excuse, because I've actually helped and met tons and tons of people who just realize they're just going to have to do another level to get through the barrier of the excess weight that they have on their body. And that's something that you have to just be aware. You got to take a look at your family history and see, what does your family look like? Like, are they bigger people, overweight, out of shape? And one of the things that you can just say is, okay, well, I have this to deal with. It just means I got to work a little harder. Here's the good news for those of you that maybe have not the best genetics. You guys are the ones, when you do have those breakthroughs and you get the weight off, get your body in the best shape ever, you appreciate it the most. So I'm here to say, like, the reward for you is even better than some that maybe struggled a little bit, or they were just really lazy or really lax on eating their eating habits. And as they got older, they just got worse and worse. But they have like good genetics, but they're just completely abusing them. They won't nearly have the satisfaction as you will. And so I want you to know that if your genetics aren't working for you, do yourself a favor, just go that extra mile. Don't give up on yourself. Keep pushing. I can guarantee you, when you get through the barriers, the struggles, the things that are going to maybe push you to keep that weight on, if you could just push past those a little bit more, you are going to be so grateful that you did. I can tell you the wins are so amazing when I have people that really have some hard genetics, but break through those and their bodies just end up rewarding them, and they're happier than ever. Now, you want to be happy. So I'm not saying you can't be overweight and have excess weight or be bigger and be happy, but I can tell you a lot of times there hasn't been pretty much anybody I've spoken to who's overweight and out of shape, and they say they're really happy with that. So that's number 4. Number 5 is skipping meals. We're going to touch on that. The hard thing with skipping meals, and you can classify, and we're going to classify like even intermittent fasting, because some of you, I think, are using intermittent fasting as a way to like not eat, not just utilize the tool of intermittent fasting. Because what I've seen is people tend to say, well, I've only eaten 2 meals a day and I'm eating between this hour and that hour, and I'm doing a 16-8 intermittent fasting, or 8-16, whatever it is. I haven't spent too much time on that, but I know like a certain period, or you're skipping meals and you're just having one meal. The problem with that is most of the time, one of two things has happened. You end up overeating, especially if you don't have like a structured plan of what you're going to eat during that one meal or two meals or however you're doing the fasting. So you're tending to overeat. And aside from overeating, then you're starting to develop this habit of like starvation. And what happens is your body is actually going to feel this like protective mechanism. In essence, like if you're restricting yourself during the day of food, and I'm not saying that intermittent fasting can't work. I'm saying what usually happens is then you're starving yourself. You're thinking about food all day. You're restricting. Then what you go after all the food and you eat all the food and you don't have a plan and you don't really understand the actual fasting part. And you're like, well, I'm just going to skip a meal. Or you ate really bad on say Friday night. You're like, you know what? I better just skip breakfast. The hard thing with that is your body is going to go through this kind of yo-yoing effect and thinking like, am I protecting myself? Am I not? Am I holding on to calories? I'm not. And that can really do some damage to your metabolism. See, your body likes homeostasis, which means it likes to be regulated. It likes to have balance. So the more you're kind of going up and down and up and down, and if you felt that way, maybe in your weight loss journey, you're a serial dieter, I like to call them, and you've struggled, a lot of times your body is just going to revolt against you. It doesn't want to have these fluctuations, ups and downs and highs and lows. And there's going to be some, but when you start starving yourself and then feeding yourself and starving yourself and doing that, it can really do some damage. And the body really works well on a predictable schedule. So I'm going to encourage you when it knows it's going to get the nutrition. If you do well with 2 meals, great, but have that sectioned out so you're not starving. Your body's it's kind of like a baby. You think when you have a baby and your kid and having your baby on a regular schedule, your body is like that. Your body it's not going to cry and whine and throw tantrums on you if you actually regulate your body by having just a set schedule for your meals. And the best part of it is there's less stress. If you kind of like they say about going to bed at the same time and having your body wake up at the same time, the more you can get your body on a schedule, it's no different than you think of if you have kids or maybe even grandchildren now. The scheduling is really, really valuable. And that's going to be really helpful instead of skipping meals here and there and trying to overlook, eating out and going crazy and then starving yourself the next day. It's never going to be in your favor. It's never going to make it easier for your weight loss. And chances are it's going to cause you to actually make it harder. And actually you'll probably even put more weight on while you're struggling to do that. So that's number 5. And then this last one, you're overestimating. So we talked about the underestimation of your portion sizes. So we're going to contrast that with the overestimating of your calorie burn. And I know there's people still out there, contrary to all of the proven science and research that's been done, as far as your calorie burn, thinking you can out-train a lousy diet. You cannot out-train. And I'll be the first to admit that I was in that period, even sometimes now, when I have like rough weekends and I had a little too much to eat and I'll try to work out. I just really enjoy working out. I like being active. But sometimes my mind will kind of fall back onto some of those old thoughts and saying, well, if I just work out a little bit more, maybe I'll burn those extra calories. And believe it or not, like the amount of calories that your body burns during exercise is really not nearly as much as you might think. So when you think like you have your watches on and all those, there's so much discrepancy. So if you're like religious about your effort monitor, or you have your Apple Watch and it's telling you burn 1,000 calories, I'd actually probably avoid relying too heavily on what you see burned on your phone and that technology. The problem is there's such a variance in there. So it's not going to be really accurate and it could really mess up your efforts for weight loss. In fact, you really don't want to use your exercise calorie burn as a way to justify how many calories you burn versus how many calories you consumed. Yes, it's calories in, calories out, but there's a lot more to it. And if you're thinking that you can just regulate your body by just looking at how many calories burn your exercise, you're missing how your body mostly burns calories. And that's through thermogenesis and also through your body's daily activity. Like you got to just think about this for a minute. Your body's going to burn more calories just through the day from digestion and just from all the organs working and living. Like all of those things actually have a bigger factor. It's really why it's so important to not overestimate your calorie burn. The truth is, when it comes to exercise is really the secret, if I don't say the word right, it's the key secret to keeping weight off. It really, truly is. And it goes back to what I talked about with muscle. When you start to exercise and you just start to get dialed in with your nutrition and start eating healthier, providing your body with the nutrients that's helping your muscles stay strong, that is truly the way to keep the weight off. All the women and men, all the people that I've worked with over the years, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, it wasn't because of the amazing exercise program that got the weight off. It was really a combination of getting more in tune with being mindful in their eating habits, understanding portion sizes, learning about proper nutrition and how that actually recovery and proteins and all those things that go into really a healthy human being. Those things you can actually optimize. And what that will do as well is make the exercise that you do more valuable, because the exercise is going to yield. It's going to give you more benefit. It's going to give you more bang for your buck. There's nothing worse than seeing somebody work out hard, and then their eating habits are terrible and they wonder why their body's not getting into any better shape. If that sounds familiar, then this could be the one that you actually consider to realize that it all works together. You have to realize that there is a component that you need to be aware of on the nutrition side, but you still have to exercise, because, you hear about people lose weight dieting and they didn't do any exercise. What happens? They stop dieting, all the weight comes back on. You hear the person that exercise and they're doing well when they're younger, and then they get older and they're still exercising, right? But their eating habits aren't any better. And as they get older, your eating habits definitely have to improve. You have to change your eating habits from when you're in college and you go out with your friends and drink all night, or you eat all the fried food and, you eat as much as you want and never really think about that. You can certainly do that, but I guarantee it's going to make it very, very hard for you to lose weight, especially if you're one of those people that don't have the best genetics. Ultimately, really the key is to take these 6 things that I just shared with you that are maybe causing you to not lose weight. And maybe if you can just turn the dial on one, let's just say you turn the dial on your portion sizes and understanding that. I would say probably, if I were to pick one of these 6 for you, and one of the ones that I see most people struggle with and have the hardest time, and it's making it the hardest for them to lose weight, it's really the portion sizes. Kind of looking at that and really being true to yourself and how much you're eating. Now, I've had some people tell me, Mark, I don't think I'm eating enough, right? And I know that always comes up. Women are like, Mark, I'm just not eating enough. But then I look at what you are eating when you do eat, and really then that has to get dialed in. But the majority of people that I've seen that have struggled with losing weight, it's truly just getting a better grasp. Yes, you got to look at the quality of the food, but just on a portion sizes, because the truth of the matter is most people in today's society are eating way, way too many calories. Portion sizes are enormous. And you just kind of set the bar for what the normal is, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. In reality, like, we don't, especially if you're not as active, you don't need nearly as much to function off of. But of course, food tastes good. So I totally get why it's really, really hard. Well, anyway, those are the 6 reasons that you're not losing weight. I hope actually that you valued today's show. And really all I ask for you in return is, if this helped, go after it. Take one of these and run with it. One of these 6, you turn the dial up on those. I guarantee you it's going to make a difference in your weight loss journey, potentially to get you off the weight loss journey once and for all. And then if you did enjoy the show, if you could share the show, that would be amazing. I don't do any advertising on here. So if you did find value in today's show, I ask you can leave a comment as well. That would be great. You can rate the show as well. It's awesome too. Appreciate it. If you don't like the show, you don't have to come back. It's definitely up to you and your choice. And I thank you for really making the choice today to watch today's show. Anyway, take care and have a blessed day.